Hi there, welcome to my TED Talk. Simmers, how does it feel to be in limbo right now? Because that's where I feel we are in the world of The Sims. I just feel like we as players, keep getting interviews with Laura Miele. We also keep having releases, and no one's really talking about the elephant in the room. We're being served surveys nowadays where it does feel like they're still focusing on future content, themes that we want to see, themes that they've probably been working on for the last few years, and they're like, okay, we have this in our back pocket, we can figure out how to do this, but when is the time to release this? When's the need for this occurring? But we still don't have a couple of big themes that people have been asking for a very long time. Bans is all I'm gonna say. But we also repeatedly keep getting confirmation that The Sims 5 isn't happening. We had it just again recently, and I actually posted about this. I was like, I'm probably gonna have a video up at some point going over my thoughts and feelings where I personally am, not even from a community perspective, but just personally how I feel about The Sims 4 as a person who has been playing it since 2014 all the way through to 2025. I've had almost in September 11 years playing this game. I've seen it from the lows of the lows to the highest of highs when toddlers got surprise drop and the whole community were running absolutely wild, just thinking oh my god, this is the moment, Sims 4 is here, it's actually arrived, to now just kind of slogging on with the game and finding enjoyment where you personally can. And someone replied to me why is this news? Why is now everyone talking about this again? They told us in 2022, I think it was, towards the end of 2022, that The Sims 5 wasn't happening. We weren't getting a direct sequel to the game The Sims 4. They kind of wanted to work on The Sims 4 and make it better, and this has really been the final nail in the coffin this time around. And I feel this is why people are talking about it, is because they've also explained why they don't want to do a Sims 5. And it's funny because I feel when it first started getting talked about and people were mentioning, there might be multiplayer in The Sims 5, everyone was so against it. Everyone was like, no, I don't want it. I'm not going to play it. And then, we grew a little more tired and we got a little bit more bored of The Sims 4 and it became a little rockier, a little more unstable day by day. Every time they add something new onto it, it feels like it introduces a whole host of problems. So you've always got these ebbs and flows of how people talk about The Sims 4, but now you've really got people being I need a Sims 5. I am so ready for a Sims 5. And these conversations are now finally happening when they've been well, actually, it's not happening. The reason that this is all being brought back up is because Laura actually stood there in an interview and said, we don't want people to have to pay again. People have poured over the last 11 years over $1,000 into The Sims 4. If you have every single DLC, I'm talking kits, game packs, stuff packs, and expansions, you have put over 1,000 USD, and I'm fairly sure even Great British pounds into this game by now. There have been multiple price increases, which I still think are very unfair. Yeah, I might be talking about that from a UK perspective, and the UK does get screwed over, but not as much as other countries and continents. I know Brazil gets ridiculously screwed over when it comes to kind of the calculations between currencies and how much they're being charged. This video, by the way, if you haven't already noticed, is really just my thoughts. I'm just spewing stuff out of me. I haven't written a script. I haven't made all of these bullet points of things I actually do want to talk about. I kind of just want it to be a conversation. I want it to be me working through my thoughts with you all. So I kind of get the we know that people have spent over $1,000 on this, and we don't want people to have to then sink that money into a brand new game. physically, I understand that. And it feels like they're trying to be consumer friendly, but at the end of the day, let's be real, we've done it for all the other past Sims games. So like, what makes this different? Now, I know the landscape of gaming has shifted completely. I say it all the time, but I truly think the Fortnite effect, the Fortniteification of video games, has been happening since Fortnite came out and will continue to happen for the longest time. I think Fortnite is probably one of the, if not the biggest played game, like concurrently from players around the globe. I fear it is the most powerful. It is the one that it feels like everyone goes back to. I am currently in my Fortnite era. I think I started playing in like 2023, which I know is very late. I was trying to hold off on it. I was like, shooters aren't for me. And then they released a season that I actually really, really enjoyed. And now I am firmly in Fortnite, I have even paid for crew. I play the battle pass until I get all of the rewards, and I enjoy it. I get enjoyment out of Fortnite nowadays. I guess I kind of have that to compare to The Sims nowadays. They made The Sims 4 base game free to play, which again, I think that was very much inspired by the Fortniteification of video games. A lot of companies are trying to do live service games. They're trying to make their games last for as long as they possibly can because they see how successful Fortnite is. But the thing is, Fortnite, you only pay for cosmetics. Before you come at me, I don't think Sims should go down that road. I personally have always preferred a DLC model. I just feel charging for like cosmetics or for items in The Sims can get ridiculously expensive. And I know the DLC is already ridiculously expensive, especially when they've been pushing them out for 11 years. However, imagine if you had to like use a certain like online currency that you had to pay real money for to get new hairs, new makeup, new eyelashes, new skin tones, new objects for your house, roof tiles, wallpapers, like the amount. And don't get me wrong, I do feel like they could still do it. So like, here's a pack that you then pay V-Bucks for or simoleons for if they want to use a Sims-like term. But it would be like the Sims 3 store, which if you went around to experience the Sims 3 store, count yourself lucky, because that really was like, hey, we've made this like DLC. Here's some like extra bits and bobs sometimes if you want to like chase a specific theme, if you want more like gameplay items in your world. Here's like a pack that consists of like one gameplay item, kind of traditionally how stuff packs were in The Sims 4, but it's going to cost you $20 for that. And it's not actually a physical pack. It just like exists. Fair enough. Once you buy it, it is in your game folder and you will like be able to keep that. Like I've gone back time and time again to download Sims 3 store content, and I have bought pieces of Sims 3 store content for sure. But I think going back to that concept is a scary thing to do. And I've never wanted that for the future of The Sims 4. But guess what? I don't think I even now have to worry about that, because I don't think there is a future of The Sims, which is actually terrifying to say. Genuinely, if there's not a Sims 5, I've spoken before about like maybe all the other things that they could possibly do. I've kind of floated the idea of like a Sims Forever. Obviously, we are on number 4. If they take it to a point where they can make this game stable. But this is the thing. I'm not like a programmer. I don't dive into the code of The Sims 4. I read about it. I read about people's opinions. I read like modders' opinions. I read people that I like to think know a little bit more than I do when it comes to like creating games. But I don't really know a lot about the Sims 4 code. I know that some people say it's like spaghetti code, basically. Obviously, the Sims 4 was like meant to be an online thing, and then it didn't. It like kind of fell through, so they pivoted the code like halfway through. Some people say that doesn't even really matter anymore because they've built so much upon it that, you know, that like main structure probably isn't like barely even like active or whatever the word is for it. So I don't want to get bogged down in like the semantics or what they can and can't do with the code. I kind of just more want to talk about how I actually think they could even make this last for as long as they want it to last. Like, I know we've been getting surveys recently. We got one about animations in The Sims 4, which, I mean, feels as if they're trying to be like, okay, maybe the animations are starting to feel a bit stale. We've heard the community talk about this. Like, we use the swipe animation far too much. Should we do something about that? Should we change things up? Do they want more realistic animations? Like, what is it about the animations that feel stale? And I mean, surveys always kind of give the idea that they could potentially be working on something and then kind of using that data to show off like, hey, this is going to be a good thing because this is the feedback that our players are giving right now, and we know that this is going to hit with them. And we've obviously had a survey even more recently about diversity and inclusion within free base game updates. But it's just like, how much can new animations and those base game updates like keep people interested in the game? At its core, I've spoken about it for years and years now. The Sims 4 isn't the game ever, I don't think, that every simmer is going to want. Obviously, you do have to keep in mind the Sims community is so huge and there's so many different types of players and so many things that you can do in the game. But I think that's the main sense of fatigue right now, is that a lot of people have been playing this game since the first few years, or even like more so recently. Like maybe they got into it like, I don't know, 3 to 4 years ago. And I still think that people who even got into it like only a few years ago are maybe still having issues with it. I think these surveys, especially the one that got like sent to emails of people who like have dropped The Sims 4 and like who aren't playing it, word got around about that. Like people actually were talking about it. And even if they didn't get the survey, because that's all kind of done through like email, and I'm sure it'll go off like stats of how long it's been since they've like clicked on The Sims 4 or like loaded it up, and they're just like randomly chosen. There's been a really, really interesting trend on TikTok, and I've actually started seeing some of these videos of people who didn't get the survey. You know, they just read a title about it on the Sims community. That's how a lot of people found out about that title. They saw it like on Twitter, if you're part of the Sims community over there, and they've started making videos about why they have stopped playing The Sims 4. Even if they didn't get the survey, they are like, you know what? If EA want to know this information, I didn't receive the survey, I'm still going to tell people. And I think that we as Simmers should be doing that. It's kind of why I'm also making this video as someone who does still play the game, but who has definitely been feeling burnt out a lot recently. And I will get into the reasons why I personally feel like I'm burnt out right now. I do think that people should be uploading TikToks, making YouTube videos, doing threads on Twitter about why they've started to lose interest in the game, what isn't working in The Sims 4 for them. A lot of people spoke about how they introduced infants, and you know what? So many people were so excited for infants. It really, really felt like an exciting time in the community again, because it was like, oh my god, like there's a new life stage coming that could actually inject so much life into this game. And then infants came out and they were a buggy hot mess, and they still are a buggy hot mess. Infants genuinely mess with like the Sims actions so much. Like you will still have to micromanage your infants. You have to micromanage from the infant itself, because adult Sims do not take care of infants. All they do is go over, pick up an infant, take it over here, put it on the floor, walk away, come back, check on the infant, stare at it whilst it's crying on the floor, and is like, that one meme of not now, mother's busy playing The Sims. And then they walk away again. They do maybe half of an interaction and then they come back and they stare at their child crying again and then they walk back off. Ooh, the amount of times I have seen a sim do that, it's still so buggy. And infants is just like the tip of the iceberg, you know? There's been so many DLC releases, for Rent obviously being one of the main ones right now, that have caused unstableness within save files. You've also got with this like feeling lethargic with the game, you know, not really feeling like the official content is doing it for you. You got people just building their mods folder, and then every time a new update comes out, I know mods are like a player opt-in kind of thing, but I think that also adds on to people getting frustrated with the game. Not that I think that you should hold that against EA, because it is at the end of the day your decision to play with mods and you can just wait it out. I also don't think that people should be as horrific to mod creators as they are. Some of the things that I have seen that mod creators have to put up with after an update is atrocious. We as human beings should not be talking to each other the way that I see some people talk to mod creators. I don't even know where I was going with that train of thought. I got really off track there, fighting for my modders. I think the biggest question, genuinely, that I am juggling with right now is how do they keep a fan base active? Like, if you said that there's no Sims 5, if you say that you don't want to start from the beginning again, what's the goal? What's the idea? Like, what are we rolling with here, EA? Like, it truly feels like we are stuck in a limbo, because I can't think of any like way that they can get around this without starting over. Like, just with everything going on in The Sims 4 and everyone having so many opinions about this game, how are they ever gonna make that base file and like that base system work the way that they need it to work? Putting 3 expansion packs on top of each other per year, multiple base game updates, some of the times don't even most recently have that many bug fixes, but are out here breaking an awful lot of mods. I think that was more so from the pack selection. I think that was actually, I saw just today that that's interfering with mods that use the Lot 51 like script. I would just say stay away from pack selection. I actually just did a video about that update saying how it already needs an update, and there is a way to turn off and disable packs using James Turner's, formerly known as the Sim Supplies website, which works a lot smoother, a lot quicker than doing it the official EA way. But we're not getting pack refreshes. I think the pack refresh of Spa Day was like a one and done. I personally don't think they saw the return that they needed to see on that pack. I don't think them adding new stuff got enough like attention from the player base. I don't think it probably encouraged that many new sales. And I will always die on the hill of I don't know why they chose Spa Day to be the first like pack that they were going to do a refresh of. Like, genuinely, they could have maybe chosen any other pack to do a pack refresh on. Dine Out was obviously very buggy at the time that Spa Day got its refresh. I know people were kind of already gaining the sentiment of like falling out of love with Seasons a little bit. Like, Seasons is obviously a necessary evil, I would like to call it. And it's like, well, if you're not doing pack refreshes, and we've yet to see the results from the surveys, we don't know if they're going to start changing up animations. We don't know if we're going to start getting bigger base game updates. None of that has really like yet to be seen. And I think that's one of the biggest issues that I personally have with The Sims 4 is it feels like they introduced some really cool things. It feels like, you know, every pack now feels like it really is based in a system. And I don't mind that, but I need those systems to be looked at. I need those systems to not be a one and done. I need them to not introduce it into a pack and be like, hey, we have this cool new system, but guess what? It's limited limited to this pack only, and it's actually not going to integrate well with any of the future stuff we do. It doesn't really integrate all that well to like the stuff that we have done in the past. I felt this way personally since like Snowy Escape. Snowy Escape was really, for me, I think, a wake-up call where I was like, wow, they really added a new world and like all of these activities, but they gave us no way to use these activities in a world outside of the world that they gave us. And I do, in retrospect, think a lot of The Sims 4 has been done that way. I mean, we got lifestyles and they didn't actually like give lifestyles across the board. They've never introduced new lifestyles. That is all set to Snowy Escape. Then, of course, we got family dynamics, which I enjoy family dynamics. I actually think it's like a fun system, but do I think we're ever going to get new family dynamics? No. Probably not, because again, that was introduced with Growing Together, which is actually, I think, one of the stronger packs that they've had out in the most recent years. Do I think that is going to be expanded upon? Unfortunately not. They introduced scenarios. Scenarios have been forgotten about. It just feels like every time we get a cool new system, it's like, okay, well, it works for this pack and it works really, really well, but we're actually not gonna look at that again. Even sentiments. I was so excited for sentiments, and sentiments are something that came in Snowy Escape, and they do actually add on to sentiments. So every new pack introduces like a couple of new sentiments. Have they ever actually worked on like how long sentiments can stay around, how strong or weak sentiments can be, how like one sim could maybe have one sentiment and another sim could have another, and there's like interflicting conflict between those two? Not really. It's very, very base level. They introduced it and then we're like, okay, like, yeah, we're happy with that. We're not going to go back and change things about it. It's like a growing problem in The Sims 4 that so much of it is so isolated. I don't think that pack integration is really all that great. And even when they do pack integration, it's like, yeah, you know, the Growing Together clubs, they have activities that you can do. That's always a pack integration that is there. But they don't think about like, okay, if there's a limitation in this pack that we're releasing, could we then tie something else that we have for those players who do have both packs and make that like something that you could do and something that you could get more use out of, like bringing love back to old packs and then integrating them with the newer stuff just to make it feel more whole and actually more playable to those players who have all the packs or like a lot of the packs. Not really. And I understand that's a lot of work for the team, especially when not everyone has like every pack. And I do fear you would have simmers who would be like, I'm annoyed that these players who have these packs like get more than us who have like only just bought this pack. But in reality, I genuinely think that's what The Sims 4 needs. I think they need to stop introducing things only specific to like one pack and then just never go back to work on it ever again. I would love to see more pack refreshes. I would love to see The Sims 4 actually become a stronger game. I would like it to work the way that I want it to. I haven't even really been noticing that many like bugs and glitches in my game right now because I've just been so frustrated whilst playing that my Sims are cancelling out of like so many interactions. I was just playing an outdoor retreat the other day and I was having my Sim go around and just like collect bugs and collect frogs, you know, one of the only things that you can do in outdoor retreat. And it wasn't brought on by a moodlet. I checked all of their moodlets. They were fine. They just randomly lost all of the queued interactions that I had queued up. It gets tiring. It gets so tiring and it makes playing the game feel like a chore. I need The Sims 4 to be better. I need them to actually go back and focus on the code and focus on how this game plays. And I need them to go back and look at systems and be like, how can we change this up? How can we make this stronger? How can we make this more fun for players, more interactive? How can we bring more consequence? How can we stop making Sims feel so isolated? Because whilst the releases feel isolated, I also think The Sims 4 suffers from a very big problem of just like the Sims actually feeling isolated. You can't really do a lot of things in groups. you have obviously the option to like make a group with Sims, but there's not really an awful lot you can do. You can't like ride horses together, for example. And that's just like one example that I can think of off the top of my head. There doesn't really feel like there's any community, even though now we have like neighborhood stories. The only time you really see Sims like interacting with each other is if you have Love Struck and Sims are just like out and about stargazing or like looking at the sky together. That is the only time really you see couples actually out in the world interacting with each other. And even then, it's so played out because it's so buggy that it just happens all of the time. There's couples everywhere looking at the stars if you have Love Struck. You don't see people proposing to one another. You don't really see people on dates apart from if you go and like dine out in a restaurant, then maybe you'll see a couple like sit down and having like a dinner date together. You don't even see toddlers or infants around the world because we don't have a buggy or a stroller. The builds never have anything for toddlers or for infants because a lot of that stuff actually came with like kids room stuff and toddler room stuff. You never see families out and about, and it doesn't feel like the game is alive. I just don't want to lose my favorite game. Maybe it's why I was holding out hope for The Sims 5 so much. I don't want to stop playing. And the truth is, annoyingly, I do think I will always play The Sims 4. I think even if they gave us a Sims 5, I would still find enjoyment in The Sims 4. I would still, for nostalgic reasons, go back to it. I kind of was talking about this earlier in the video and then got off topic, but you know, we've restarted 4 times over now. What is the difference between jumping from 4 to 5? What is the difference that EA are like, we can't do that for the players this time around? And I don't know if it's a money thing. I don't know if The Sims 4 is still making so much money and has so many like active players that they're like, we're not letting this ship sink yet. I don't know if it's that they actually truly believe that they could get this game to a point where they can make it like viable for the future and for years of content to come and like another decade on top of the decade that they've already done. And truly, I believe at my core, the Sims team, the producers, the developers who are working on this game want that. But also, I don't see that in what we're receiving right now. Even just receiving like 3 expansion packs a year, that is also adding to my burnout. Like, it just feels like they're like, bam, expansion, you know, couple of fixes here or there, bam, expansion, couple of fixes here or there. I mean, how long have we been having 3 expansions in a row? I think the first one was Growing Together, Horse Ranch, and High School Years. It just doesn't feel is giving them enough time to actually sit with the game and like play the game and be like, okay, this is like finicky, this is like annoying to play. How can we like fix this up? How can we make this better? And I think they need to lay off the releases for a little bit. Even if they like do 2 expansions a year and a game pack or like a stuff pack thrown in that, you know, isn't like quite as demanding. I think something needs to give. There needs to be time spent on like actually working on the game and like actually working on it at its core, not with paid new DLC, not with new packs, not with new things that can be added, but actually looking at what you have, seeing how you could integrate that stuff stronger with other packs, and seeing also how you could make it more memorable and less of a solitary thing for players. I don't know if this video made any sense. I feel like I've literally just been yapping for like half an hour. But I kind of wanted it to be like that. I didn't want it to be this thing where I like write down all of my points. I just wanted it to be very natural and very like, I don't know, raw from where it was coming from my perspective. I still enjoy The Sims 4. Am I running out of things to do in The Sims 4? Absolutely. And I know people could say, well, use your imagination or download this mod or this mod. And it's just like, I shouldn't have to download mods to get fun out of the game. Mods should be a very, very fun bonus. And a lot of the time they are. And people can say you're lacking imagination or you should play the game a different way. I've played the game so many ways. I've done so many challenges. I think that the community have literally carried so much of my fun on their backs for like community made challenges, and I've had fun with like new releases. None of it even feels that new anymore because none of it really feels like it's affecting my game that much. Even with Enchanted by Nature, I gave this feedback in like my overview that I did. I gave this feedback in like my should this be an expansion pack, like more sit down reviewy type thing. They introduced new systems. They introduced the balance system, the ailments obviously, and the look system, but all in all, they kind of just fade into the background for me. They're not anything that captures my attention that's like, oh my god, I want to sit down and like explore this for like hours on end. It's like, okay, I've done like what, 2 probably 40-minute videos like exploring this feature, and now it's just the same over and over again. Every day is the same. It doesn't matter if you have good luck, it doesn't matter if you have bad luck. And I felt that way about the relationships when it came to Love Struck. This is more, I guess, like a personal critique that I have, but I just don't feel like sometimes even the systems that they're adding are like adding fun gameplay. They're not adding a challenge. I know that bad luck meant that your sim started fires, but that doesn't feel like a challenge for me because fires are already a thing. If you have fear of fire, they start a fire almost every day anyway. It's just an awful lot of overlap of things that I've probably already seen like 20 times that day in The Sims 4. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening to this absolutely incohesive piece of media that now exists on YouTube. I'm like, Sims, can you make things more cohesive? Can you make them flow better? Can you make it more memorable? And then I'm uploading videos like this to my YouTube channel. But no, basically my biggest question is what is next? What is next for The Sims 4? What the heck do you think is going to happen? No Sims 5. They want to continue working on The Sims 4 for years and years to come. How do they do that? Let me know down in the comments. For you personally, whether you're playing this game every single day and you may be like me and have started to feel like the burnout or the boredom seep in, maybe you're still loving this. Maybe you still think that the game has excitement. Maybe there are still critiques that you have and constructive criticism that they could work upon. Maybe you are like the people over who I've been seeing on TikTok, which, by the way, I have been reposting a few of them. If you've fallen out of love with The Sims 4 and you're not playing it anymore, what made that? Like, what made that decision? Why did that happen? What could this game actually do to bring you back into it? Like, what were your frustrations with the game? Just keep in mind, keep it like polite. I think we can give constructive criticism without like hurling insults, etc. Like I said, just the way that people talk to mod creators, also don't talk to real people who work on that game this way, you know? Like, there's a way to do it with being heard, with giving your opinions and how you feel and how you play and how you would like to play in the future and what you actually want from The Sims without attacking people, be that other people in the comments, be it developers, be it mod creators, all of that. Just keep that in mind because I will just delete comments. It's really easy for me to do. But I appreciate you all so much. Thank you for sitting through this video. If you sat through all of it, I don't know how you did that, but I appreciate you all the same, and I can't wait to read the comment section, actually. Okay, I'm gonna actually stop yapping now. Goodbye.